we think about music, we usually think of things like notes, instruments, maybe some singing. But what if I told you that technology didn't just change how we listen to music? What if it completely tore up and rewrote the definition of a song, an instrument, and even what it means to be a musician? That's the story we're going to get into.
So, let me just ask you a question right off the bat. Are you a musician? Now, before you answer, just hold that thought for a second, because what that word even means has totally been turned on its head.
Just think about this. In the last month, have you made a playlist? Well, that's curation, right? An act of arranging sounds. Or have you shared a song to set a specific mood for a friend? That's kind of like a performance. What about adding a soundtrack to a video? Or remixing some audio for a social media post? That's composition. The lines have gotten so blurry. Technology has basically turned these things we do every day into real acts of musical creation. And in a way, yeah, it's made musicians out of all of us.
Okay, so to really get how we ended up here, we need to rewind. We have to go all the way back to the first massive revolution, the moment we figured out how to basically trap sound in a box.
This was a gigantic shift in thinking. I mean, before recording, music was basically like smoke. It existed for just a moment in one specific place with a specific group of people, and then poof, it was gone forever. But once recording technology came along, music became an object, a physical thing you could hold in your hand, you could play it again and again, you could study it, you could own it. It went from this fleeting one-time event to a permanent artifact.
And of course, this didn't all happen at once. First, way back in the early 1900s, you had the phonograph, which let academics capture music and study it almost like a scientific specimen, like a butterfly pinned to a board. Then jump to the 50s. Magnetic tape gives us this incredible new superpower, editing. You could literally cut out a mistake with scissors or splice together the best parts of 10 different takes. By the time the 60s rolled around, the studio itself wasn't just a room to record in anymore. It had become this complex, powerful instrument for shaping sound in ways that were completely impossible to do live.
Okay, so that brings us to the next big phase, because just capturing sound, that was only the beginning. The next major leap was creating brand new sounds that had literally never existed before in nature.
And this led to whole new genres, like electroacoustic music. Now, the key thing to get here is that this isn't music that's just played on traditional instruments and then recorded. No, this is music made from the technology itself. The tools that were originally for recording and tweaking sounds, they became the instruments, creating these incredible sonic worlds that a symphony orchestra couldn't even dream of making. I love how the musicologist Angela Ida de Benedictis put it. She called it a meeting of music and the new possibilities of technology. It was a real fusion, you see. It wasn't about just documenting a performance anymore. It was about this brand new creative partnership between the artist and the machine.
And this feeling people had, it actually has a name. It's called the technological sublime. You know that feeling of just like jaw-dropping awe you get when you see something unbelievably powerful? Like looking at the Grand Canyon or watching a huge thunderstorm roll in. That feeling, which used to be reserved for nature or God, was now what composers and listeners were feeling when they heard these totally alien sounds coming out of a machine for the very first time. It was thrilling, it was inspiring, and yeah, it was probably a little scary.
So all of this brings our story right into the modern day. Because that massive, expensive, intimidating power of the professional recording studio, well, it got shrunk down until it could fit right inside your laptop. I mean, it really wasn't that long ago that making a professional-sounding record was this incredibly exclusive, super expensive process. You had to book time in a high-end studio, you had to hire professional session musicians, you needed a sound engineer, you were working with big reels of physical tape, and these gigantic mixing boards. It was a world with a lot of gatekeepers. And now? What's the process now? You open a laptop. You start creating. That's it. The barrier to entry has just completely evaporated.
And what this is called, really, is the democratization of music making. The digital revolution literally put the tools of production into everybody's hands. A kid in their bedroom today has access to a studio that is way more powerful than what the biggest bands in the world had just a few decades ago. It's incredible.
But you know, when you give everyone these amazing tools, it doesn't just mean more music gets made. It also kicks off this huge, passionate debate about what makes music good, or what even makes it authentic.
And this question really became the central conflict of the 20th century. Was technology a threat to the very soul of music, creating these sterile, perfect, inhuman sounds? Or was it the path to salvation, unlocking entirely new ways for humans to express themselves? It really breaks down to this classic debate
analog versus digital. So on one side, you have the analog camp. They value things like warmth, the beauty you find in slight imperfections, the whole idea of capturing a real, singular human performance. Then you've got the digital camp. They champion crystal clarity, absolute precision, and the total freedom of having limitless options to build a perfect sonic world that could never exist in reality. And look, neither side is right or wrong. They're just two completely different philosophies about what music should be.
So after going on this whole journey, from capturing a sound on a wax cylinder all the way to building entire sonic universes on a computer, where does all this leave us? What's the really big takeaway here?
Well, we've definitely seen the progression, right? We've gone from just trying to capture a single, fleeting moment of a performance to now having the power to create a basically infinite universe of sound completely from scratch.
But here's the most important thing to get from all of this. This was never just about new gadgets and new toys. As the scholar Paul Theberge points out, what technology really did was fundamentally change the meanings of things. The definition of a musician now includes DJs, playlist curators, and producers. The meaning of a song can be an endlessly remixable file. What really happened is that technology changed our entire fundamental relationship with sound itself.
And all of that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. For the first time in all of human history, our ability to create sound isn't limited by our instruments or our voices. It's limited only by our own imagination. So now that we have this almost infinite power, what are we going to choose to say with it?